Hello, my name is Upreti, and I am a current undergraduate at the University of Texas at Austin. And with Dr. Savitri Namboodiripad at the University of Michigan Ann Arbor, we've been working on a study about the effect of English experience on word order flexibility in Hindi Urdu. So I'll begin by talking about our motivation and our background. So Hindi Urdu speakers by nature experience a lot of contact with other South Asian languages and with English. And some previous studies about English contact include in Korean, increased English contact seemed to reduce overall flexibility, and in Norwegian, increased English contact led to hypercorrection against the English canonical word order. So we wanted to see how contact with English impacted flexibility in Hindi Urdu. So our methods were using an audio-based acceptability judgment experiment. So we wanted to use an audio-based experiment because we wanted participants with a range of linguistic backgrounds. So as long as you can understand Hindi Urdu, you could be a part of this experiment. This experiment had 93 sentences, which included 6 lists counterbalanced using a Latin square, and there were 39 fillers, which were pseudo-randomly distributed within the experimental items. So this is an example of our experimental stimuli. Hindi is canonically SOV, but all other orders are grammatical and attested, so this is an example of all of them. And this is the intonational contours of spoken stimuli, which were checked in PROT. We wanted to ensure that within the word orders, the intonations of each sentence were relatively similar, which we found that they were. So for our results, we divided our participants into 3 groups based on location, which we use as a proxy for language experience. One was born and raised in South Asia, the other one was born in South Asia and living in the US, the last was being born and raised in the US. So the results that I'm going to present are based on these 3 groupings. However, we're conducting further analyses based on more nuanced variables and being able to look at clusters and other variables in Cheng in prep. So the first thing that we were interested in was looking at SVO acceptability, as SVO is the canonical English order. And what we found is that it was not relevant to English contact. All 3 groups seem to have the same preference for using SVO, no matter their language experience. And we also wanted to look at SOV, which was the canonical Hindi Urdu order. So we did this by taking their average Z-score rating of SOV and subtracting by the average Z-score rating for every other word order. So this provided a relative preference for SOV. And again, between groups, there was no significant relative preference for SOV. As a caveat, this may be because of limited data in each of the groups or because of other variables about language experience not being properly addressed by just looking at location, but it is significant that SOV and SVO both seem to have no preference based on these groupings. So since averaging these ratings obscured some of the variation between word orders, we looked at all 6 word orders and their preference between the groups. And what we found is that groups who have spent time in the US, whether they live there or grew up and lived there, there seems to be less of a distinction between the 6 word orders, which indicates that these people who have spent time in the US have increased flexibility in their word order usage. So in conclusion, SVO is not specifically being affected like it has been in that Norwegian study that I referred to earlier. In fact, no specific word order is being affected, and this language contact seems to be affecting word order across the board. And also we found that Hindi Urdu, as a language with so many speakers, with a variety of language experiences, needs more than a one-dimensional method to explain the phenomena of use of word order and contact. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions or feedback, both of which would be greatly appreciated, feel free to contact me at this email. And if you're interested in how we conducted any of this, we have some extra files in the OSF link or QR code that's here. Thank you.